So this is part of our year-in review conversation series. And of course, you're on the electrification beat, so we're here to talk about EVs. The EV market has taken kind of a beating in the public opinion, it seems like, at least within the industry and sort of leaking out into the rest of society. What do you see going on in the market?
Well, I want to be clear that EV sales are not declining. That's the narrative we're kind of seeing outside of the industry. They aren't declining, but the pace of growth definitely has slowed for a number of reasons. I mean, it's not an easy transition to make for a consumer.
Mm-hmm. Well, we saw, EV market share has stayed pretty steady in sort of the 7 to 8% range this year. And I guess the fact that it's not gone up month after month has been discouraging to some, but it still compares to 5%, 5.5% market share last year. So it's really pretty significant growth, but maybe a little more challenged. There's a lot more supply. Some dealers are certainly sitting with EVs on their lots in a way that they just didn't face at all in 2022 and previous years.
Yeah, it's not the exponential growth that we had seen in previous months and years, and dealers they do have a lot of EVs sitting on their lots. The automakers kind of rushed to build them because just last year and the year before, there were wait lists for EVs and reservations, and people really wanted them, and they really couldn't get them fast enough. Now there's an oversupply in some cases that leaves dealers with full lots of EVs and discounts even. Like, you wouldn't imagine an EV discount unless it was on a Leaf or something that had been around for a while, or a Bolt. You wouldn't imagine a discount on a new EV a few years ago, but that's what we are seeing now.
Yeah, I'm sure Tesla's price cuts have put a lot of pressure on especially those other compact crossovers that compete with the Model Y.
Yes, that's for sure. Tesla is definitely moving the market in terms of price. Some deep cuts on its models that are lowering the average transaction price for an EV as well, getting it closer to an internal combustion vehicle, but still, most consumers are still priced out of the EV market.
Yeah, I feel like part of the problem with EV demand and EV sales is the price and really the mix of products. We saw part of that exponential growth was when we went from $100,000 sedans and $100,000 pickups into more of the $50,000 compact electric crossovers. But we're not really getting those new models now like we were last year and the year before.
No, there's a lot of talk about them, but we aren't quite seeing them yet. So that's probably, a big driver of this conversation that, EVs aren't going to make it or something. A lot of the talk around that is because we aren't seeing EVs for everyone yet, which is the ultimate goal of many of the automakers.
There are some interesting products coming. We're starting to see some 3-row EVs from Volvo and Kia. And then hopefully we get some of those more affordable EVs from GM. They've been talking about the Equinox EV, the next gen Bolt. Those could really help crack into the mass market a bit better.
Right. We've kind of addressed those early adopters and some of the luxury buyers, but we'll see what the true demand is when we have those affordable options come to market, which will be in 2024 and even in a bigger way in 2025.
It's a little puzzling because we see prices on EVs are maybe on average about 10% higher, $4,000 to $5,000 more than the overall market. And we have these federal subsidies, federal tax credits of up to $7,500. Seems like that should make up for it, or more than make up for it, but it hasn't quite, at least not in the psyche of the American consumer.
No, the EV tax credits are confusing. That's the first thing. They're very, very confusing for me as a reporter and for consumers. This year, they haven't been given at the point of sale. Next year, they will be point of sale, but there are other questions that have popped up around which vehicles are eligible. So it's a nice benefit to get that EV tax credit, but for the average consumer, it probably needs to be a clearer benefit.
Yeah, it's tricky because if it applies to your taxes for the following year, that's a long time to wait. We'll see, point of sale should help, but of course a lot fewer vehicles we believe are going to be eligible next year when the foreign entity of concern rules kick in. So maybe less help there, although the EV lease support continues, but automakers are a little reluctant to get too heavy into leases, it seems.
Yeah, it's complicated because the industry doesn't know the resale value yet. I was talking with a dealer earlier today who's saying that was a big concern, and that's why leasing is such a big product for EVs, because it gives the consumer that reassurance. It's not your problem how much the vehicle is worth at the end of your time with it.
Yeah, in the short term, it seems like, the companies like brands like Kia or Hyundai that aren't making a lot of EVs in the U.S. Should just go all lease. But of course, it's very risky when you don't know what the resale value is going to be in 3 years. And we're seeing a lot of pricing pressure on used EVs right now, in part because of Tesla and their price cuts.
Yeah, and I mean, we won't see that in a significant volume for a few years, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But for now, that is a consideration among buyers.
So the other big challenge for EV adoption has been charging, right? We used to call it range anxiety. Now we focus more on charger anxiety. Not everyone can put a charger in their home. And, you wrote last year, this is early in the year, you wrote about how, 20% or a large percentage of chargers don't work when people need them, public chargers. Has that gotten any better over the course of 2023?
It stayed in that general area of like 1 in 5 charging attempts failed through most of the year. So I would say, though, it probably is getting better because of the awareness around it, and the charging companies, the big ones like EVgo and ChargePoint and Electrify America, they have initiatives towards improving the experience and improving reliability of chargers. Also, the NEVI funds have been distributed to the states, and those are starting to be implemented. I think the first charger came online in December in Ohio. So that's all good progress. The Joint Office told me that they had installed 1,000 charge ports a week since June.
Okay.
So that's progress. It's not 500,000 like the goal is for 2030, but steps in the right direction.
Yeah. And then the other big step that should make the charging experience better for consumers, they're going to have to wait for, and that's the adoption of Tesla's North American charging standard, which most automakers, at least a lot of brands, have now announced that they're going to collaborate with Tesla and start offering basically Tesla's system on their cars starting sometime in 25.
Right. So for now, you could use an adapter without the port. But yes, in 2025, many non-Tesla EVs will be built with the Tesla standard charging port. So that will open up the charging market in a big way. Tesla has, for the 1 in 5 charge attempts that failed, I mean, Tesla is basically not part of that. Tesla has very reliable charging infrastructure. I think it remains to be seen how compatible it is with the other makes. They're working on that, so hopefully it won't be an issue, but it really will open up charging for sure for all consumers.
It's another one of those examples of how Tesla is just so far ahead, right? They spent all those years losing money, but building out their charging network, their product portfolio, their mineral acquisition strategies, battery recycling. I mean, they've just really addressed a lot of those pain points before other automakers were really even in the game.
Yeah, they jumped into EVs fully. I mean, as a new automaker that is only making EVs, they had to figure out the whole ecosystem from the batteries to charging and beyond, and they really have mastered it. So they can do everything in-house, and that gives them a great advantage with everyone else as a competitor and as a partner, as we're seeing now with opening the charging network.
So before we get to 2025, we have to live through 2024 first. What do you anticipate as some of the big stories coming into next year?
I think it might be more of the same, more of what we've seen towards the end of 2023, where the pace of growth is just not quite as robust as it has been over the past couple of years. Because it's growing pains. I mean, people might be waiting out the Tesla charge ports in non-Tesla vehicles. They might be waiting to see what happens with the tax credit. There are plenty of reasons kind of to wait and see. So that might be happening. But in terms of charging infrastructure, that will only continue to expand. Like I said, we just saw the first NEVI-funded charger going online. It's the first of many of hundreds of thousands, hopefully, likely. So we'll see more and more of that. We'll probably see more involvement in charging from the convenience store chains. They're already in it, but expanded role. Same with gas stations. And it'll be interesting to watch what the startup charging companies do, because they have struggled to make a profit.
Yeah, it's a reminder of the long lead times that we always have in this industry, and we're used to it in some ways on the product side. You know the company's working on a product for a certain segment. Maybe you then see it at an auto show, or you see a concept, and then it takes another year to get the production version, and another year to get it, or half a year to get the factories up and running. And here we've got all these. It takes a long time to build the charging network, but I mean, especially painful is the mining, the refining of battery, creating battery materials here in North America that don't have to come from China. It's a lot of problems that are solvable, but they take time.
Yeah, a lot of moving pieces, like you said, that need to be solved for. And on the consumer side, I've seen many surveys that say EV consideration is high, like above 50%. It's high. So it seems from conversations with dealers, what stops the consumers is at point of sale, when they ask the questions like what their daily life would be when they own an EV, and it can be complicated with charging or with the battery in a cold climate. There are some other challenges to be solved as well.
A lot of issues to solve, but we'll be counting on you to help us keep track of the work that goes on for them in 2024 and beyond. And Lutz, thank you so much for being here with us today on Daily Drive.
Thank you.